to be defined as posting rumors or gossip about a person in the internet, bringing about hatred in others' minds. So it could be as simple as just gossiping about other people.
So if this is something that's happening a lot, are there any regulations in place to regulate social media? Does the government have any say?
There's not a ton of law enforcement right now because it is so new. However, they're not quite as aware as we would like them to be because fewer than 1 in 5 cases of cyberbullying is actually reported. Because a lot of times they have leverage, such as Brooke was talking about, I will post nudes of you, I will say this about you if you say anything to anyone.
You can go on, if you see cyberbullying, someone being mean to someone on social media, you can usually mark it, flag it, and then it usually takes it down.
So the websites themselves somewhat monitor.
Yes.
Do you consider texting social media?
Yes. It is a platform that would be considered more primitive than the others because it doesn't involve audio a lot of times unless you have an iPhone, which is now available.
Because obviously screenshots can make it a forever thing as well. And I just didn't know because sometimes it appears kids don't realize I agree that I think it's a form of social media because it can live on
Adjust my
forever.
statement. Actually, that would technically be social networking.
Okay.
Media would be the use of photos. So it is social networking.
It could turn into social networking if you screenshot and post in
Yes.
other places. I got you.
Do you feel everyone should have some form of social media account to be successful or in the know?
Well, first off, I don't believe that the in the know. I don't think that's. I don't think it helps you very much. I think maybe for businesses, but even LinkedIn is almost out of style at this point. So I don't really understand why you would need to have that. It is good for, I guess, flash sales if that really matters to you, or holiday deals. But that's once again promoting materialism. So. I just don't see the benefit. However, I think some of my panel members disagree, so if you have anything to say on it.
You've hit a lot of negatives. I mean, are there any good aspects to social media?
I think it is a really good way to get information out there and really fast because almost everyone is on social media. It's a really good way to get that out there very quickly.
And there have been examples of one in particular. This is one of my favorite stories of Muslim women who have been abused and do not have a voice are able to be anonymous and post from their home and get help. However, with that, there is all of the negative effects that we've seen already with suicide, cyberbullying, sexting, all sorts of things. So I don't really know if there's a net benefit.
I really like this question. If Jesus had a Twitter or Facebook account, what would he post?
Well,
He'd probably flag a lot of things.
Yeah. Or would he have a social media account, period?
I think he would.
To get his message out.
However, yes. However, I looked up verses in the Bible just of, let's relate this, and a couple of them were from Proverbs, which is the source of wisdom in Christianity. And so, do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There is more hope for a fool than for him. So Twitter makes it very easy to have a Twitter battle and fight. It's very easy. So that kind of fosters it. Make the best use of time because the days are evil, and that's from Ephesians. So is social media really the best use of your time? And one of the arguments in favor of social media I've had is evangelism. And that's good, but are you actually evangelizing? Are you reaching out to people in real life? Are you writing them notes? Are you hugging them? Are you showing them that you're physically, truly there rather than moving your thumbs? And another verse is, all things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things build up. So just because it's socially acceptable and it is lawful And it's not bad per se, doesn't mean that it's good for you.
Also in 1 Corinthians 10:31, it says, so whatever you do, work at it if you're working at it for the glory of God. So I think if your motives for having your social media is good and your intentions are good, I think it is okay to have. If you're using that to witness or just to share about your life.
So would you say the social media is more positive or more negative?
My opinion is more negative.
I think it's overall more negative.
I think it's negative too. I have it, and I think it can be used for good and for positives, but overall, if you weigh the differences, more negative.
Do you think your opinion has changed over the course of the last few weeks as you've done research?
Yes.
Like when you started, were you more the other way?
I was like, yes, 110%. I love social media. I need to be on it 24/7. And then I'm like, no.
So Caitlin, can I ask, what was your logic behind that when you were like, yes, I love social media? Like, what did you love about it?
I loved how I could be on Snapchat and while my friend was in California and I could be like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm in Santa Monica. And I was like, oh, I could see her life. And then I'm like, I don't need to see all of that. I can be here and be in my own life and focus on myself. And I don't need to be with her 24/7.
Do you see a pendulum swinging amongst people your age, or did it of swinging back? Because it's from, I'll put myself, I'm probably older than everybody on this panel, but from a perspective of your parents, for instance, it's grown so fast, and it seems like there's absolutely this mountain of information. And how do you parent your child? It seems like you all can't get enough. Like there's just, how do you regulate it? And by the time we catch up with one, y'all have moved on to another, right? So you were on Facebook until all the old folks got on Facebook, and then you took off from Facebook and you went off into. Do you think the pendulum is swinging back, that kids are starting to go, wait a second, maybe it is too much right now? Or is it only through really intensive look at it like this that you've come to that? Do you see other kids?
No.
I'm one of 7 that I know of in our grade who does not have social media. There's 110 kids.
I was hoping you'd not scare me so
I
much.
apologize, yes. And that brings me to virtual reality, which is where they're predicting social media will go to. And wearable computers, which is terrifying. That they would insert a chip into your body, and that instead of having a laptop or a tablet or a phone, it would be something you could mentally turn on, which, even though we already have unlimited access, that would truly be unlimited. It would be in a part of you incorporated into the body.
Have they started experimenting with that at all?
A little. I didn't delve too much into it, but that's where they're projecting and that's where they're aiming to go. Companies who are, that's their vision statement.
Do you all think that social media and the things we've been talking about, is that kind of sometimes say a first world problem? Is it something that is more prevalent in America? Do you see it other places? Did you find anything about that?
Ironically enough, in most people in third world countries have cell phones now, which I thought was so weird. But it is a first world problem, but it's spreading just because a lot of times what first world countries do, third world countries try and follow. And since the portable device has made it so easy, they're not necessarily expensive if you don't buy an Apple phone. So they do have, there's a lot of social media. It's more popular with like MySpace and stuff. So they're still like behind almost, but they're even behind parents.
I've been outside the country multiple times, and every time I've gone on different mission trips or like leadership mission trips, almost always all the kids that have cell phones that have like Wi-Fi access have a Facebook. So for me, when I leave and I come back to the States, it's a good way for me to keep in touch with them and see what's going on in their life, like across states.
The United States is actually the 6th among the top 10 countries using social media. The first is Germany, surprisingly, and then Poland.
wouldn't have guessed that. What do you think about countries like China who actually block Facebook for their citizens? Are they doing the right thing? Any thoughts on that?
I don't believe so, because with all of I dislike, even though I'm against it, it's not the government's right to choose for its citizens should they be allowed to have access to social media. It's just an individual's decision.
I would say that as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good way for them also, if the government allowed China and the people to have it, for them to be informed things that are going on here and around the world.
But that's the idea of why they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some friends who are from China who have talked about how the first time they saw Facebook and stuff, how weird it was that we were allowed to communicate like that with one another.
Bethany, Brooke, Caitlin, have you ever taken a complete break from social media, like all forms? And if so,
There
what
was an
happened?
assignment. I did when there was an assignment at school.
And tell me what happened as a result.
This was in like, I don't know, the 6th grade. We had to take like a week off of school. You couldn't, not like week off of school. You just couldn't have a phone. And I was like, I wonder what's going on in everyone's lives. And then I got my phone back and I was like scrolling through because I felt like I had missed out on so much when I really didn't.
But you haven't taken a break since 6th grade.
No, I probably should.
Brooke, have you ever taken a break?
I have. I used to take a week off every month, just delete it completely. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, I used to.
Bethany?
What do you mean by like a break? Like how?
Just shut it off your phone. Remove all the apps off your phone. So not necessarily get rid of texting, because I understand sometimes your parents, text you, but Facebook, Twitter, all of them, Instagram.
I actually do that quite frequently because I run out of storage on my phone. So I'm not kidding. So I'll just go and like delete the apps I don't care that much about, and those happen to be Snapchat and Instagram because I don't need them. So I'll just delete those, and then I'm like, okay, I have enough storage, and I'll get them back. But I'm fine without them. Like it does not affect me at all.
I don't know how, if we've
You're
got
good.
time, because this could be a lengthy topic, but how do you feel, I'm really interested in it, how has social media impacted race relations? There's obviously a lot in the news in the last X amount of whatever, but what are your thoughts about how people of different colors, different races interact with each other from a social media perspective? Has it helped, hurt,
I feel like
both?
we've almost seen a resurgence in the Black Lives Matter movement. It's kind of become, it's fostered the my culture is my identity movement, my race is my identity, because you're able to connect with the community and you're able to discuss your background. I did not specifically research this though, so I don't feel comfortable going into it.
Any other thoughts from the
I
others?
didn't specifically research it either, but I do think social media has had a great effect on things such as the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's created a lot of tension because I think it showed a lot of people's true character and how when they don't agree with certain things, how they react, and then they'll post a video or a picture of certain actions they're taking, whether it's rioting or things or vandalism. I think it's showed a lot of people's true colors and created tension.
Has it helped in any ways?
It's helped get their ideas out there.
It spread very quickly. Like she said, it helped to get it out very quickly.
I was thinking about actually the first time a black man was shot by a police officer and it was videotaped. There was just a controversy. There were riots over it. So that is one instance of social media just inflaming it almost.
You haven't seen any places where, and I'm not, this isn't a loaded question, I'm just interested in your responses, that has it been used to bring people together at all? Have you seen ways that, and not just maybe black, white, but racial,
One
male,
instance-
female? I mean, just any opposing factions based on identities.
One instance of my personal experience is I write poetry. There's not a lot of that going on here at LCA. So I was trying to find a group of people who love it, and I looked online and found on Facebook a group of people. Now, as soon as I found that group of people, I actually went and met with them, and I wouldn't have been able to meet with them had I not known about it, and Facebook was the instigator of that. But, so that was a good thing. I made lots of friends through it, so.
If not race relations, what about politics? I mean, you've recently experienced an election. What effect do you think social media has had on politics? I mean, obviously, if you look back through history, technology has changed the way elections have been won, whether that's with the radio or television. What impact do you think social media has had?
Donald Trump used it a lot. His main thing was Twitter, whether it was bashing his opposing candidate or letting his opinions out there very boldly. But he has over 10 million Twitter followers as of now. So I think through his Twitter account and his social media accounts, it has allowed him to spread his ideas very far and quickly through the election.
I think he used it for good, getting his purpose out and stuff, and getting his ideas across of what he was running for and what he wanted to change about America, but also used it for bad because of how he directed some of his tweets towards Hillary in a negative way.
What do you think that does to the news media?
Makes him popular.
It's a playground.
But I mean, the general, like NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, CNBC, all the different news channels. You all don't even know newspapers exist, I'm sure, but just the quote-unquote mainstream news, is social media, do you feel like social media is making them go away?
They are declining a little. I don't watch Good Morning America or anything, but I do know that people rely on social media as a reliable source of news, or links that Facebook pulls up, that it will be an accurate source for them to learn about their surroundings and what's going on in the world.
Just like CNN, they can pay for an ad on Snapchat, and while you're watching through your stories, an ad will pop up and leave. Black Lives Matter.
So they do unite the two sometimes.
Do you think it actually is a reliable source of news or information, though? I realize people think it is, and so they think everything that they see on Facebook or Instagram is true. But do you actually think it is?
It depends. I look at the domain a lot of times if I have to. .org, .edu, Huffington Post, things like that. If that's the link, if it's BuzzFeed, I try not to rely on it too heavily.
Do you all have a preference? Do you have a social media platform that you like better than the others?
I feel like I tend to gravitate towards Snapchat just because it's quick and easy. You don't have to sit there and scroll through all the Instagram and all the captions, but I just like Snapchat
Mhm.
best, personally.
But that doesn't stay, right? Snapchat, once you see it, it's gone?
It says that, but no. A picture's a picture. It's always going to be out there.
Right. But it's not where you can go back and...
No.
Okay.
I personally like Instagram the best out of all of them. I just like seeing people's pictures and what they're doing.
I like Instagram too.
I enjoyed Instagram the most when I had it, but then I realized I didn't really care about your cat and got rid of it.
So real quick, this won't apply to Claire maybe, but for the rest of you, after doing all this research, do you still use social media? And if you do, why do you use it? Because
Yeah.
After doing the research, I still have all my social media. I don't think it's I don't think it's necessary, but I personally like